Lawmaker raised concerns over high maternal deaths in the Gambia. Former South African President Jacob Zuma missed anti-corruption inquiry for health reasons. Mali coup leader asked ECOWAS to lift economic sanctions against the West African nation. This and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Africa TV and many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail, and we begins with the political situation in Mali, because in order to save Mali's seemingly crippling economy, coup leaders in Mali have called on the regional bloc to lift sanctions following the nomination of a civilian interim president. But it remains unclear how West African leaders will react to the nomination of Bandao, a former defense minister who had prior service in the military. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Mali's military government chief has called on the West African leaders to lift the economic sanctions imposed in the wake of last month's coup. The sub-regional bloc insisted that it will maintain the measures unless Mali's ruling officers appointed a civilian leader. Mali's former defense minister, Bandao, was named as president of the country's transition government on Monday. Addressing reporters on Tuesday during a ceremony marking 60 years of Malians' independence, coup leader Colonel Assimi Goïta said the recent nomination of a civilian as an interim president meant that the West African leaders must end their trade embargo. Goïta, who is the leader of the National Committee for the Salvation of the People of Mali and now vice president to retain Colonel Bandao, said they accepted the ECOWAS demands because the international community is watching. ECOWAS mediator in Mali's crisis, former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, is expected in the capital Bamako on Wednesday. For iAfrica News, I am Julden Suare.
Still on Mali, moments ago, the Ghanaian president called on the UN and other member states to support the regional bloc ECOWAS efforts towards restoring normalcy in the West African nation. President Addo made these remarks in his address to the United Nations General Assembly debate via a video link. The Ghanaian leader stated that one immediate task confronting the community is the political situation in Mali.
As the newly elected chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, I say that one immediate test confronting the community is the political situation in Mali. Following the coup d'etat that ousted President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, which has been compounded further by the activities of terrorists and violent extremists who are in control of large swathes of that country in some parts of the Sahel region. We have learned, most often through bitter experience, that terrorism and violent extremism are not restricted to particular geographic locations or jurisdictions, as the impact of a single terrorist incident in one part of the world resonates throughout the world. It is incumbent on the UN, and indeed all member states, to lend their support to the efforts being made by ECOWAS to restore normalcy to Mali and help us defeat the scourge of terrorism.
Ghanaian president addressed in the UN General Assembly and calling for more support to bring normalcy in Mali. Now we come back home because members of the National Association of Technical and Vocational Education and Skills Training Institutes, TVET, has said that they want to resume operation as soon as possible after a 6-month shutdown due to the coronavirus. Vocational training institutes were shut down in March as the government implements measures to cope with the spread of the coronavirus. Well, let's have more details of that in this report.
The National Technical Vocational Education and Training Institutes, TVET, a collection of training institutes in the Gambia, have expressed dismay at the government's failure to address their concerns. TVET members said they have engaged the Ministry of Higher Education and put forward their challenges at the lack of operations for 6 months, but the ministry failed to heed to their request to reopen. TVET institutions have been severely hit by the government-imposed lockdown, and some have been struggling to meet rent bills and the payment of salaries. Demba Sala is the public relations officer of the vocational training institutes in the Gambia.
We are saying with immediate effect. We are not giving an ultimatum. We are saying with immediate effect. What's the rationale behind opening all businesses? You have salons where you have an institute where these young girls are trained. You cannot tell me, you cannot allow the center to open when salons are operating daily. You have a metal workshop where people with 5, 10 apprentices are operating. And the institute that are training these technicians cannot operate.
TVET institutions felt ignored by the Ministry of Higher Education after attempt to get their plight addressed fell on deaf ears. The spokesperson of the organization said that their line ministry has failed them.
We have a line ministry. Like I said in the beginning, we should not have been even crying about going to them. They should have been running around knocking doors, trying to get to know what we are feeling. He who feels it knows it. They failed in that. We went there to remind them and to emphasize to them that you should make noise. You should let people know that we are suffering and we need to exist. And they failed.
The European Union have been supporting some institutions with grants as measures to continue lectures in the pandemic through the Youth Empowerment Project and the International Organization for Migration. However, Piero Sala said that these grants are time-bound, and if the time elapses, the monies will have to be returned, hence they want to resume operations.
These projects have timeline. To the utter disappointment, we have made certain consultations, number of consultations, and these project coordinators also have been in support of our endeavors, and we are in consultation with government. But do you know what's going to happen if these centers continue to shut down? They will shut down these projects and they possibly take it to other countries. I am telling you, and our youth will suffer.
The organization is set to meet with the Office of the President and the National Assembly's Select Committee as their final stop on their quest to reopen their learning institutions. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
And from the report there by Maria Macham, next we head to Ghana because the Ghanaian authorities are working on modalities to boost the fishing sector as the marine fish industry is largely depleted. Fish farming is among the major sectors providing fish to markets and creating job opportunity for the young people. Fishermen are calling on the government to provide more for the industry due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic to help increase fish production. Here are more details of that in this report.
Ghana's marine fish stock is depleting at a rapid rate. Fishermen say the industry contributes about 400,000 out of the 1 million metric tons of fish protein the local market demands annually. So, fish farming is the industry's way of bridging the gap.
They are making a lot of impact by employing a lot of people. We also do this aquaculture for food and jobs, where the government is giving training, is giving resources to institutions such as schools and colleges, and then other institutions are the prisons, so that they give you the feed, the seed for you to produce. When you sell, you can get something.
Tilapia and catfish are the two main cultivated fish in Ghana and contribute 100,000 metric tons of fish demand. As fish farmers ramped up production in the beginning of this year, the coronavirus lockdown hit sales.
People were not buying their fish because people were indoors, and that one affected what? Their income. The fish will be in the pond, the fish will be in the cages, the fish will be in the tank, yet we'll be feeding them. But then, some of the fish were ready to be sold. However, because of the COVID, they weren't able to sell.
With restrictions lifted, fish farmers here are looking to scale up production. The process starts by removing the eggs from the mouth of the tilapia.
Once the eggs are retrieved, they are hatched in these incubators. The fry produced here are transferred into the concrete tanks where the hormonal feeding is done for between 21 to 30 days.
About 1 million fingerlings of catfish and 3 million fingerlings of tilapia are produced here annually. It takes between 7 to 8 months for these fingerlings to mature for harvesting. But as fish farmers cultivate these fish, they have to deal with people's reluctance to eat fresh catfish.
Fresh one, and you'll be an fresh.
Many people don't like the fresh catfish, so when we bring it to the market, we may lose money because people won't buy it. They prefer the smoked one because it's easier to prepare when making soups.
Although dried catfish is popular in Ghana, the government is aiming to increase fresh catfish sales.
We are going to put up a program which we are going to call Fish Fair. And then the Fish Fair, we organize, maybe one Saturday, we organize somewhere, we are having fish fairs. You come and we present all the different products to you. You come and you can taste fresh fish cooked or put in paste or something, and you can see it, you can taste it, and we believe that you will like it. And that's the way we want to promote the taste for Ghana.
Still, fish farmers say more needs to be done to improve Ghana's aquaculture landscape. The cost of fish feed is high and makes up 70% of production costs. They want the government to also tackle that while addressing issues of a ready market for fresh catfish.
From the reporter in Accra, Ghana, we come back home again because gym owners in the Gambia are planning to hold a peaceful protest on Thursday after the government relaxed some COVID-19 restrictions that excluded their centers. Gyms alongside bars and pubs, cinemas and nightclubs, casinos remain shut since March, and sporting group events at beaches and sit-in restaurants remain also prohibited. Now let's have more details of that in this report.
The Gym Club Association are dissatisfied with the government's decision to keep their businesses closed as part of measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus. The government relaxed a 42-day nightly curfew and restrictions on markets on Thursday, but said gym centers and a host of other public drawing businesses and events remain restricted. The technical director of Gym Club Association, Omar Fofana, said the government should allow them to reopen since other businesses are allowed to operate. The 6 months of lockdown is now unbearable, he said.
For almost 6 months. You put your business and everything into it, and then your business is closed for 6 months, and you are supposed to pay rent and other things. It didn't work. When this happened, we looked at the recent lockdown, and when the curfew ended, we expected the government to compensate us because they said any business closed for a while should be compensated. The government is aware of that. The authorities are aware, and we are aware of it as well. But still, nobody is talking about compensating us.
Omar Fofana also runs a gym center in Wellingara. He said he's now struggling to meet rent bills due to the government's COVID-19 measures after investing millions of dollars.
The difficulties I am encountering is that I have a wife and I have 3 to 4 children, and they are all dependent on me. My mother is there with other relatives and they are all depending on me. So my center is closed and I have no source of livelihood income from anywhere apart from the gym, and has been closed for 6 months now. That disturbs me a lot. I couldn't pay the rent I was supposed to pay, and my landlord kept following me and said I have to pay him or face eviction. So the same thing is happening. So also, the salary I should pay my staff is also a problem.
The Gym Club Association, which consists of 40 gym owners, said they should be allowed to reopen or be compensated by the government for their losses. And where a permit to demonstrate peacefully is refused, they said members would open their gyms and operate as normal because they have been pushed to the corner. For iAfrica TV, Omar Ahmad Toure.
Gym owners to hold a peaceful protest in the Gambia due to COVID-19 restrictions. And from that report, we head to Kenya because the Kenyan humanitarian organization is providing food assistance to single mothers in the outskirts of the capital, Nairobi, to help upkeep their families amid economic challenges. More than 100 children and single mothers are benefiting from the feeding program by Jewel Sound Hope Foundation, with support from the Chinese embassy. As the demand for more support continues, the foundation said it is committed to render support to the needy. Here are more details of that in this report.
In Ruiru, a town that's 40 minutes drive from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, Caroline Dungu is busy preparing food. She is the founder of Jewel Souls Hope Foundation, a humanitarian organization. The organization recently launched a feeding program that helps single mothers struggling to provide for their children.
We didn't have money to buy those things now. But when the Chinese embassy came through, they told us, what we are going to do, we'll give you $5,000. Then you use that money for the next 2.5 months to do the projects.
Caroline Dungu, as well as the other members of the foundation, are single mothers. From her own experience, she understands how hard life can be, especially during the pandemic.
I am a single mother of 3 children, boys. Sometimes we had nothing to give children. We are happy because of this program, and we pray that you shall continue to give us food for our children.
Eunice Wangoi, a Standard 7 pupil, is among the 120 children Caroline's organization is feeding. With learning institutions closed due to COVID-19, many children are no longer able to access free school lunches.
I want to tell all the donors that donate to us this food. I want to thank them, and I want to tell them to bring us more food.
Right now, I think things are getting tougher. So every day I'm having new faces. And it's sad for a child to come and tell them, no, go back home, we don't have food for you.
Besides the meals they serve on weekdays, the foundation gives each child 2 kilograms of maize flour so that they have something to eat on weekends. Caroline believes that with more donors like the Chinese embassy, she can continue to help such families.
An humanitarian organization supporting single mothers in Kenya. And from that report there, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining update stories. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and you're watching the World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV. And now to the rest of the stories. Now, child deaths are high in the Gambia, from newborn to under 1 and under 5 deaths. There's also a high number of women dying in childbirth. Child mortality is highest among rural communities, most of whom have access to healthcare problems, mainly because there are no health facilities or health centers are several kilometers away, or there are no drugs. Last week, Gambia's President Adama Barrow said the government was determined to tackle these problems. Aisha Tamba tells us more of that in this report.
Some born in the Gambia will not live for more than 28 days. In recent years, for every 1,000 babies born, 31 have died before they are 1 month old, according to the 2018 Multi-Cluster Indicators Survey. A high number of babies, 41 out of every 1,000 who survive their first month, are also likely to die, and up to 57 of every 1,000 children in the Gambia do not live to celebrate their 5th birthday. Child's rights agency like United Nations Children's Fund said this trend is worrying and need urgent attention.
In an address to the nation last Thursday, President Barrow said his government is working on better health care and is making efforts to reduce the number of babies and children dying a few days after birth or before their 5th birthday. He said his government has invested $32 million towards immunization services and that his government has also committed to reducing the high number of women dying during childbirth. According to the 2018 Multi-Cluster Indicator Survey by the Gambia Bureau of Statistics, for over 100,000 live births, 43 women have died. This amounts for 36% of all deaths among women aged between 15 to 49 years old, according to the Gambia's 2013 Demographics and Health Survey. Reacting to President Barrow's statement, the National Assembly member of Badibu Central, Honorable Suleiman Saho, said families were robbed of joy.
Madam Speaker, the saddest and unfortunate thing is that most of these deaths happen at the very termination of their pregnancies, that is during labor, needless to recount the numerous complications and sickness that women have to endure throughout the period of pregnancy. Sadly, Madam Speaker, while there is expected to be joy at the end, after all, that pregnant women go through the worst awaits them during delivery. For what is expected to be celebration and feasting for the family, in respect of the arrival of a new member of the family, has been mourning and crying for the deaths of the ones who give birth to these babies. In some instances, Madam Speaker, the babies will not even arrive. They too die along with the mother. With these 2 weeks, Madam Speaker, I knew 4 women who met their deaths while giving birth life and whose deaths have been attributed to poor and inadequate health care attention accorded to them during delivery.
Globally, it is generally agreed that the majority of deaths during childbirth are from conditions that could have been prevented if women have received the right medical care throughout their pregnancy and during birth. Honorable Saho agreed. He said recent mortality rates in the Gambia are unacceptable and they could have been avoided.
It is about time we sincerely interrogate our concerns and type of healthcare system that we have for our people. The maternal deaths that are happening all over the country are avoidable and therefore unacceptable. Madam Speaker, it is about time as legislators that action are taken to rescue ourselves and our women from these avoidable circumstances. In order to do this, Madam Speaker, we need a bold and multifaceted approach to tackle this long generational crisis in our health sector. Our mothers, sisters, and wives do not deserve this kind of death. It is true that death is obvious and inevitable, but not in the manner we have witnessed of recent times. This country needs a better healthcare system to take care of our people, particularly our women.
According to the last global estimates from the United Nations, 295,000 women died in childbirth every year, or as a result of complications arising from pregnancy. This equates to about 810 women dying each day, roughly 1 every 2 minutes, according to the World Health Organization. Reporting for African News, I am Aissatou Tamba.
And from the report there, filed in by Aissatou Tamba, next to South Africa, where former President Jacob Zuma failed to appear before a commission of inquiry over corruption allegations due to health reasons. Experts say the former president is not legally obliged to attend the hearing, despite his respecting the commission's initial invitation. However, Zuma may be forced to appear in next month's hearing by Shamon. Here are more details of that in this report.
The former president has been to the commission once before and avoided a second visit due to health reasons.
It is entirely predictable that the former president didn't pitch up for testimony because he's trying to, and he has been trying to avoid giving his version of events. And because he was not summoned, he wasn't legally obliged to come to the commission. And so he can't be punished, imprisoned, given a criminal record for refusing to come.
Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo told the former president's lawyers that on 9 October there would be a hearing about issuing a summons to force Zuma to appear. Analysts aren't surprised by the approach taken by the former president.
If he is summoned, I would be surprised if he doesn't challenge the legality of that summons, and that will take the whole process beyond the end of the commission. He doesn't want to testify, and he has options to stop it.
Zondo is taking a firm line and wants the former president to testify before the commission between 16 and 20 November. Zondo needs Zuma to testify, and he went as far as offering to allow him to testify virtually, something he wasn't prepared to offer to any of the Gupta brothers who are also implicated in wrongdoing, corruption and state capture.
From the report in South Africa now to Uganda, because the country has begun investigation into the causes of a fire in one of the country's highest learning institutions. The fire outbreak was brought under control thanks to the efforts of the fire brigades. Both students and university authorities are calling for a thorough investigation. Well, let's have more details of that in this report.
This is the symbol of Makerere University, one of Africa's top learning institutions. The fire brigade team has managed to contain the blaze, which began on Saturday. It is now looking into the possibility of a security lapse.
So far we have one police officer in custody who was supposed to be on duty. He claims that he was on duty, but according to the interrogation so far, he had absconded duty. We also have a private security guard who was asleep in the sentry.
The fire destroyed the top floor, which holds students and finance records. This place has been sealed off as a crime scene. Authorities here say they are investigating the cause of the fire. But for the students and alumni, the main worry is about the academic documents.
Most of the files were being located to the main building, which means that most of the files were burnt. Remember, there are receipts within the financial offices, there are receipts within the academic registrars, and those papers of a program.
But the university authorities say most of this information had been captured electronically.
We have a lot of that information already in a digital form. And whatever was lost, we can recover from the many copies that are all over the university.
The university boasts of being a center of excellence in the region. Former African presidents like the late Julius Nyerere, Milton Obote, Benjamin Mkapa and Mwai Kibaki acquired their degrees from this institution. The building with its British architectural design was completed in 1941. Makerere University is due to celebrate its 100th anniversary next year.
And that report there from Kampala, Uganda, eventually brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also log on to our website on africa.tv. But you can also join my colleague Sahna Tunkra at 19:30 GMT or 7:30 local time for the Gambia 24 News Bulletin. But for now, though, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.